Well, have you ever
we're not
invested
advocating
in
the
private
elimination of
equity
private
when you
equity.
didn't understand the fees?
I never said we didn't understand the fees. We are advocating for the elimination, not advocating for elimination of private equity. We're seeking reforms to make it easier for us to do our jobs, to stop abuses, to increase transparency, to help create more efficient markets, and provide basic protections.
I understand. Have you ever invested in a private equity deal as a fiduciary, as a state treasurer, without understanding the fees?
We put a lot of effort into this, but that results in increased costs as well. And just as we saw public market...
I understand that. I heard you the first time. But have you ever invested in a private equity deal without understanding the fees?
No.
Okay.
Welcome back to Hot News Today. Senator John Kennedy grilled witnesses this week, taking aim at private equity's role in our financial system. He didn't hold back, questioning the Illinois State Treasurer and slamming legislation that could gut private equity. Stick with us and subscribe for more explosive moments from D.C. Senator Kennedy opened with a deceptively calm tone, but as soon as he started questioning Illinois Treasurer Michael Frerichs, it was clear he meant business. He asked, "You invest in private equity, do you not?" The answer, "That's correct." Then Kennedy pressed, "Are you telling me you invest without understanding the fees?" He compared it to buying a car. If you don't get the financing, you walk away. Kennedy's point, if you don't understand the deal, don't invest.
Mr. Treasurer, I'm a little confused. As treasurer, you invest in private equity, do you not?
That's correct.
And your concern we should all share, is you say the fees are opaque and there's not enough transparency.
Correct.
Are you telling me that you make private equity investments as a fiduciary without understanding the fees? And if so, whose fault is that?
We put a lot of time and effort into understanding these fees and working, but that adds increased cost to us. And there are also smaller pension plans out there that don't have the resources.
Well, why don't you just don't make the investment?
But oftentimes we don't if they're not willing to work with us.
So what's the problem?
Just as in other fields and other investment classes, the transparency has been helpful in bringing down the cost of fees, things like mutual funds. We think we'd see improvements in fees with greater transparency.
Kennedy pressed the treasurer on fiduciary duty, asking, "You breach your duty if you invest without understanding fees, don't you?" After dodging, the witness finally admitted, "No, we've never invested without understanding the fees." Kennedy called out the contradiction, questioning why they complain about transparency if they still invest anyway.
But if I go to buy a car and the car salesman doesn't explain the details of the financing to me, I just walk away. I don't call for the federal government to take over every car salesman in America. What am I missing here?
Well, I'd say we're not calling on the federal government to...
These are two players in the financial markets. You're not required to invest in private equity. In fact, you breach your fiduciary duty to invest in private equity if you don't understand the fees, don't you?
As I said, we put a lot of effort and time into this. I'm the first one to note that we at the Illinois Treasury significantly increased our allocation to the private equity space, given the opportunities and our ability to manage risks.
Well, have you ever invested in private equity when you didn't understand the fees?
Never. I never said we didn't understand the fees. We are advocating for the elimination, not advocating for elimination of private equity. We're seeking reforms to make it easier for us to do our jobs, to stop abuses, to increase transparency.
Senator Kennedy didn't mince words. This bill would gut private equity like a fish. He asked Dr. Holt, "What happens to workers if we kill private equity?"
I've looked at this legislation. It'll gut private equity like a fish.
I think that's correct.
Now, what will that impact have on workers of America?
We know that, the private equity markets are very large. As David Burton pointed out, that this is an important source of capital. Capital is how firms invest in skills for their workers, technologies, equipment. It raises productivity, and that productivity flows into higher real wages. So you're really affecting the standard of living.
Is it going to cause layoffs?
Absolutely.
You get rid of private equity, whether you do it in a de facto or de jure way. You could abolish private equity. You could also regulate it half to death. No, regulate it completely to death. Mm-hmm. Now, if you do that, I know it's in vogue to talk about rich billionaires around here, but they comprise a very small part of the American free enterprise system. We're going to have massive layoffs, aren't we?
Yes. I mean, you need the capital to run the economy.
In fact, isn't that what free enterprise is? A marriage of capital and labor? Some of my colleagues think it's a zero-sum game. They think that the American economy is like it was back in primitive times. to take a Marxist approach, some of my colleagues think that the only value in an economy is labor. And if you make money in an economy, you have to make money. If you become wealthy, you do it by exploiting labor. That's not an accurate description of the American economy today. Capital joins with labor, and today they both improve their value. That's how we grow our GDP, is it not?
That's correct.
Said, you're affecting the standard of living. Private equity helps companies invest in technology, training, and equipment. That's how we grow GDP, period.
All right, do you disagree with anything I said, Mr. Burton?
No, the one thing that you didn't really mention is it's not just capital and labor, it's also entrepreneurship and innovation, and it takes capital to innovate, to acquire new technologies, and that's how productivity improves, and that's how wages go up. If you don't become more productive through technological innovation or better management practices, then you can't see wages go up over any extended period of time. I also think there's sort of everything you said is absolutely true with respect to private capital markets. If we were to restrict private capital markets, we would destroy the United States economy, because they're the most important means of raising capital for businesses and particularly for entrepreneurship. There's a more narrow case of these private equity funds that are basically engaged in acquiring failing public companies.
Kennedy asked David Burton if this bill pushes us toward a government-run system like China or Venezuela. The answer?
Do they have private equity in Cuba?
No.
Do they have private equity in Venezuela?
No.
If they have private equity in China, it's state-owned, right?
China's a little bit more ambiguous, but they're certainly restricting private enterprise.
So is that where we're headed here, to have government-run private equity like President Xi does in China?
Yes.
Would this bill move us toward that end?
This bill would make private equity funds narrowly defined utterly uneconomic.
Now, my understanding of private equity is that you have a company that goes out and says, we're really good at investing money, and we ask you to invest your money, private investor, with us, the venture capital company. And in order to invest in that venture capital company, you got to be an accredited investor. I mean, you got to have a net worth and show that you're a sophisticated investor.
Generally, yes.
And then that private equity company goes and buys a private business. When it buys that private business, does it put a gun to the head of the owner of the private business and say you have to sell?
No.
So it's usually a voluntary transaction.
Yes.
And so now you've got a new owner of the business. Is that right?
Yes.
And that new owner tries to increase the value of that business because that new owner wants to make money. Am I right?
Yes.
Does it always work?
No.
If it doesn't work, who loses?
There can be a lot of losers. The
Right.
shareholders, the equity fund, employees, customers, vendors.
But if it does work, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And we call this free enterprise.
Yes.
As opposed to government saying you can't invest there, but you have to invest there.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Do they have private equity in Cuba? No. In Venezuela? No. In China? Only state-owned. The message? Destroy private equity, and you destroy the backbone of American entrepreneurship. Kennedy reminded everyone, private equity is voluntary. No one's forced to sell. Firms invest in struggling companies hoping to turn them around. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. That's freeing a price, not government control. Private investment keeps America competitive. Kennedy didn't just ask tough questions, he put the whole debate over private equity on trial. He asked what few dare. Do you even understand the system you're trying to regulate? Should Congress regulate private equity or just walk away like Kennedy said? Until next time, stay informed, stay bold. This is Hot News Today.